Hello, and welcome to our training on money. My name is Brad Finch, and I will be taking you through this training session on how to generate estimates and some of the features that are around them. So just to define a little bit where we're going to be at in the process, basically the work has been done by the contractor. The contract has been set up in SiteManager. Milestones are in place, any stockpiles have already been created. DWRs have been entered by the inspectors and authorized, and the diaries have been created with all of their comments. And now, at this point, the contractor wants to get paid. So in this training, I'm going to be covering a typical estimate and just some of the common issues that you might face. I'll also show you just what the adjustments are, some of the discrepancies you might encounter, and a little bit about the signature process and how you'll be able to go through there. I'll also point out a few of the useful reports that we're able to pull up during that process. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to SiteManager. And I'm already logged into the application, and I'm actually in this case, a consultant project manager for the particular project that we're working on. And I will go ahead and take you to the contract payments and the estimates. It's going to be on this window where most of the interaction actually occurs for generating estimates. And you can see the first icon here is the generate estimate. I'm going to go into there, and I will be prompted for the contracts that I have contract authority for and that are ready to have estimates generated. In this case, this is the first estimate that I've generated on this contract, and you can see that up here. I don't have a last estimate number. If I did have a previous one, let's say, for instance, I was working on my second estimate, let's say 01 up here and generate estimate number 02. Some of the other things on this screen, you can see the date. This date shows when the estimate will begin and end. Well, my DWRs and diaries ended on 09/23 for this particular contract. And so I'll only want to generate it for that date range. You can also see that we have different types of estimates. We have the progress, final, and supplemental. Progress is going to be while the contract is running. Final is going to be at the end of the contract when you're closing out everything, all the work has been completed, and you're generating that final payment to the contractor. You can also do a little bit of scheduling with generating the estimate. You can actually tell it to run on a certain date by delaying it. I think most people will go ahead and just generate it as at the current time, which is what I'll be demonstrating today. And then if we did have an estimate that was in place but not completed, and with no signatures on it, we could actually go in here and delete it. And this checkbox would give us the option not to regenerate it. Otherwise, if we don't check that, it'll regenerate it as soon as we click the generate button, which is this one up here. So at this point, we're ready to go ahead and generate this contract. So I'll run that. It starts a process that runs in the background, and depending on how long the date range is, it'll take a little bit of time to complete. It's usually pretty quick. And you can see that this one's already done. Okay. So at this point, I kind of want to know a little bit more information about what's actually on this estimate. So I want to go to our report portal. I can do that by going to our main panel and clicking on our reports button. This will take us to all of the reports that are available through SiteManager, but I just want a particular one. This one everyone has access to. It's a construction report, and it is the contract pay estimate summaries. I like this one because it shows me all of my estimates that are actually on a contract. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select my contract and hit View Report. All right, so you can see that the report has come up here, and we have the summary to contractor and summary to project. These are just slightly different views of each other. I like the summary to contractor. So when I click on that link, it actually downloads a PDF version. Hit Open. And here we have the summary page of the estimate. There's a lot of information on this screen. You can see general details about the contract that we're working with and the estimate. At the top, you see the prime contractor and the estimate date. You can also see the location and some of the key dates, critical dates, the estimate status, and on the right side we have the total earnings and stockpiles, and then we have liquidated damages, incentives, and disincentives, and then any adjustments. And this payment at the bottom will be the total payment for the estimate, which is a summary of both of all of this numbers here. You can see we have three different columns. Basically, you'll have this estimate, which is the current one that we're working on, the running total of the estimates previous to date, and then the total to date is the sum of the previous to date and this estimate. You can also see that there's a signature block at the bottom. So you can track the signatures at this level, but there's actually also a SiteManager window that makes it easy to track there as well. If you do want to look at the items themselves to see what was paid, you're able to see the bolded line items with the actual amounts and of quantities and the amounts. You have 4 rows for each item. The first one is the contracted amount, and then you have the current amount, you have the amount paid to date, and the amount paid on this estimate. So a little bit of a way to tell what's going on throughout the history of the project as well. I'll go ahead and scroll to the end. And normally we would have, well, not normally, if we have stockpiles, each of the stockpiles will be tracked at the end of the report, and you're able to see a little bit more detail of that there. One other thing I do want to mention about the items is that they are also sorted by the group. So you're able to see the items under each group that way. Okay, so now that I've reviewed my estimate, I'm going to go back to SiteManager and to our contract payments estimate. And at this point, I'm ready to sign my estimate. So as the project manager, I'm going in and I'm going to approve this. Select my contract. I'm on my current estimate, and in order to sign it, just check the box and hit save. Oh, now it's telling me that there are some unresolved discrepancies. I have an option at this point to either resolve them, or if they are minor discrepancies, I can actually click continue, and it'll go ahead and just sign the estimate and be able to continue on through. So I want to hit no because I want to go and show you some of the functionality of the discrepancies here. And in estimate discrepancies, we can see what's in here. Now there are several different types of discrepancies. You can have overrun material test discrepancies, which is what this one is. And you can also have milestone and contract completion discrepancies, checklist events, and DBE compliance discrepancies. Most of them, you're able to go in and set the status. You can just override it. And if you do override it, say, we'll do testing later, or whatever the actual reason is for overriding that. And then that'll clear out your discrepancy for the moment. It doesn't mean that that isn't going to come back the next time you run this estimate. If there's no testing for this, then it's going to say, hey, you still need to get your samples in there, or whatever the discrepancy was. So quick way to demo that there. So let's go back to our estimate here, and this time I am going to go ahead and hit yes on this. And it actually produced, okay, I'm going to close this out because I want to show you that it's not going to actually show you that because I did override it. So let's go back in here, reopen it, hit yes, hit save, and there it went through without giving us the error message saying that the override or the discrepancies would have to be overridden because I'd already done that. Okay, so well now I realized, okay, my next person in line is the LPA responsible charge, and they're going to come in and take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And when a estimate is signed, there is actually a process set up that automatically sends an email message. So we saw that initial little box that popped open saying that the LPA responsible charge had been sent an email. So they'll actually receive that email, and that's how they know that they need to get in here and actually do the signature process. So I'm going to log in. And I'm going to scroll down and find my LPA responsible charge security group. So for those of you that have multiple security groups, you will have to be able to you'll have to log in with a security group that is actually needed for that next signature level. Okay, so we're going to go to contract payments, estimate, and now this time since I'm going in as the LPA responsible charge, I also have the option to reject the estimate, and I'm going to say that I found something wrong with it. He needs to go in and maybe make an adjustment on it, or the project manager might need to make an adjustment on it. So I'm going to go in here, and it'll only show me ones that I actually have current access to reject. So I will say this estimate needs an adjustment. Save. And now notification will go out and let the project manager know that he's got to go in and make that adjustment. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the LPA responsible charge that goes in and rejects this. It could be any person that has not signed the estimate yet that can go in and reject it. So at this point, of course, the estimate's already rejected, but even controller could have come in here and rejected it and then given their reason for it. So if someone's if the next person in line is kind of out of the office, you can go up the line until you're able to find someone who can. So now I'm going to log back in as our project manager. And this is actually our consultant project manager, because this is a consultant that's doing this particular contract. Well, in fact, I'll go ahead and pull that up just real quick. Okay, so in contracts, you'll be able to see the contract type. Here. So it's going to show as a local project, and it's LPA RC and consultant inspected. And that's what then determines the type of signature level that's going to occur on this. So go back to my main panel, contract payments, estimates, and oops, a little too far. I want to look at an adjustment. So we have contract adjustments, we have milestone adjustments, and I'm going to just briefly show these to you. I'm not going to take you through these, but a contract adjustment would actually give you the ability just to put an adjustment straight onto the contract. Liquidated damages, contract time adjustment, and line item adjustments. And each of these will show up on the report on that summary page on the right side. You'll see the actual amounts that show up under there. Okay. And I guess one of the other things that can make a difference on it, I did mention just briefly, but stockpiles will also make some adjustments on your contract. So if you go to stockpiled materials, we have a screen here that allows you to create the stockpile. So the contractor has basically brought the material on site, so we're prepaying them for that. And then as the stockpile is depleted or used up, then that money comes back off of the stockpile. And you'll see that adjustment in the actual stockpile line item on the report. Okay. So let's switch back over to here and say thanks. That's the end of the training. We've actually covered all the major parts of the estimate process. I have taken you through generating an estimate, looking at some of the discrepancies, how to do the approval, looking at the signature process a little bit and how it's handled. We've rejected an estimate. I showed you a little bit about how you can make adjustments to the contract. And I want to thank you for listening to our training today and hope that it was useful.